Hey, good morning and welcome to the Eric Cedarstrom Show. I'm Eric Cedarstrom and we're live on this beautiful Monday morning. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you taking time out of your busy day. Yeah, if you're a local listener, some of your affiliates, things have changed. This show now here in Phoenix on KXXT. Joe will be my guest here. This will be the first of 3 hours of the Eric Cedarstrom Show, broadcast through the mothership at KHNC, 1360 AM, Johnstown, Denver. And we're live on this Monday, and Joe Jaquint is sitting with me. He's the CEO of Patriot Trading Group, the only gold and silver company that I recommend that you do business with. You can reach them at 1-800-951-0592. Lovely Wendy's out front. Any questions you might have, anything you need to do in your hard asset portfolio, Patriot will take good care of you. You can also find them out on the information superhighway. Nobody calls it that anymore, but that's just how I'm showing my age at www.allamericangold.com. You can also listen to all 3 hours of this radio program on that site as well. So we're getting started. Yes, it's Easter, perfect time to resurrect. Because, yes, we have risen. We're back, me and Joe. And Joe, he now, not only is president of this company, but also now has a radio station and to add to his portfolio. The kid's doing good. How you doing this morning, man?
Hey, I'm just hanging in there. Yeah. I guess it was the third day.
Yeah, third.
Because we have risen again.
Risen again. So what a mess this whole Easter thing is in Sri Lanka. I mean, my heart goes out to the people. This was an orchestrated attack against Christians by Islamist militant groups, you know, the ones that don't exist. You know, when they make comments like, here, this will be the news in Capitol Hill. Well, some people did something. No. Here on the Eric Cedarstrom Show, you got it. It was Muslim militant groups. They a coordinated attack. They're still finding ordinances over in Sri Lanka on even today. The officials failed to heed warnings also from intelligence agencies about the threat of the attack by domestic radical Muslim group that officials blame for the Easter Sunday bombings. Well, they got a guy. It's the new Osama bin Laden. I mean, it really is. They bring him out. For you to do something like that, he'll be on the hate list, you know. I guess we'll have to elect another Barack Hussein Obama to battle it all. So, what a mess. So much news this morning, you can hardly even keep track of it. I mean, I'm not kidding. There is just news everywhere. Of course, it gets bottled up from the Easter holiday. Did you see the MSNBC guy go after Mueller? Yeah, they're going after their own. Mueller's at church, coming out of church. And MSNBC, the worst, one of the top 5 worst networks in the world, attacks him over the Mueller report, wants to know questions. He's like, I'm on your side. It's like an environmentalist trying to pet a grizzly bear, and they can't figure out when the grizzly bear eats them. Like, well, here, I just donated to save the bears. So, I mean, it's crazy. Absolutely crazy. Good morning, Joe. How are you doing?
Hey, good morning. I'm doing a little better than Robert Mueller, apparently. I missed that.
You didn't see that?
I didn't see it.
Disgusting. On television. He's got a camera with him. Here's Mueller. He's got his Sunday best on. Love him or hate him, but isn't even during the Highlander, you couldn't cut a guy's head off in church. You got to leave him alone, No. The liberal press, rabid. So, I don't know.
What are they upset with him about?
Oh, probably because
he couldn't find anything?
Yeah, he let their side down. But it's not over. They've still subpoenaed all that. There's stuff in there. I got to tell you, Trump Friday wrote that special counsel Robert Mueller reports contains fabricated and totally untrue statements about him. Trump said in a series of tweets following the release last Thursday, statements were made about me and certain people. He's calling it now in the crazy Mueller report, in itself written by 18 angry Democrats, Democratic Trump haters. This is what he said. You got to love the president, love him or hate him, which are fabricated and totally untrue. Watch out for people that take so-called notes when the notes never existed until needed. Yeah, interesting how you can have notes on a conversation when you weren't even there. because I never agreed to testify. It was not necessarily for me to respond to statements made in the report about me, some of which are total bull, and we'll have to edit out the rest, and only given to make the other person look good and to make me look bad. This one is a legally started hoax that never should have happened. Although the Mueller report did not conclude that Trump and his campaign coordinated with Russia during the 2016 election, it did describe several acts by Trump that caused the special counsel to write that investigators could not state that Trump clearly did not commit obstruction of justice. Well, let me tell you, anybody, anything can be obstruction of justice. Really can. So.
Well, this is part I think where Trump's all upset about is in the Mueller report, it would be an alleged former staffer said in a meeting that the president told him to do this, but he didn't do it.
Well, here's something that's funny. That they actually did find something that hackers from Russia were able to gain access to at least one county's election computer network in Florida ahead of the 2016 election, it was revealed. The Miami Herald pointed out special counsel Mueller's report on Russian interference in the election included a portion about how hackers from the GRU, the Foreign Military Intelligence Agency in Russia, used a spear phishing email to get into one county. The report did not name which county, and the FBI would not. Come on, that's got to be a fake news story. Which county? I mean, now if you admit, if you're an official there, and you go, yeah, the Russians got in our computer, it's your fault. I mean, you can't do that. And if you did admit it, you're trying to tell me that MSNBC wouldn't be down there in 2 seconds tallying up the votes the Ruskies made for the commie president? Yeah, crazy, isn't it? Hey, it's the Eric Cedarstrom Show. We have risen. We're back wherever you're listening. Thanks for tuning in. This is the first of 3 hours. We'll see you here. Hey, you're listening to the Eric Cedarstrom Show on a Monday. Thanks for tuning in today. Joe Jaquint, CEO, Patriot Trading Group, allamericangold.com, sitting here with me. We're rocking and firing. I hope you had a good holiday out here in Phoenix. We had a 100-degree Saturday. You local people listening here, I mean, you see in the paper they're talking about Phoenix and Tucson merging together. Did you see that?
I saw that.
Crazy. Is it possible? They do. They went through all the growth. I guess the biggest growth, again, remember where it was 10 years ago when everything took off? Vegas. So Vegas is getting everybody. Maricopa County also heard today that we have the worst air in America. We win the award. Even L.A. beat us because L.A. doesn't have the dust we have, because we live in a desert when they uncover us. My wife, Lori, went to a business meeting, a real estate meeting, which if you need any local real estate to buy or sell here in Phoenix, go to the Cedarstromgroup.com. Lori's there. My picture's there as well, but Lori is the brains of that operation. Her partner, Ryan, they do a great job. Cedarstromgroup.com. Anything you need in Phoenix, let me tell you, she gets it done. But we're looking at how the business models and the paradigm shifts here in Arizona, and we've gone to a New Jersey-style business model where they just want to start stacking up houses and building tomorrow's tenements today. I mean, this is what's being done, and you know it. Anyone who lives here knows it. If you live there for any amount of time, you're like, what is going on? These apartment cities that stretch so high, if you're a flat earth guy, you won't believe this, but there's so many of them, you can see them disappear over the horizon. You're like, one apartment neighborhood. You're like, this is unbelievable. And who are they putting in them? Well, people are moving here. They're coming from everywhere, and the traffic, it's just turning into L.A. And Lori said she was at a meeting last week where they stood up and said the business model is to build high-rises where everybody lives in, and the good thing about it is because of all the weight, they take up so much room, so much weight in such a small area of room that it's pushing the water tables down. It's supposed to be good for the environment. Now, my wife, she's a farm girl. She says to me, and they've taught me, I've actually pulled a calf. And how many people do you know? You see all the cowboys, everyone running around. I've actually pulled a calf out of a cow. Sorry for you people that are having breakfast this morning, but I've done it. So in my opinion, and I did it by myself, and in my opinion, that makes me a cowboy, so I'm qualified to opine on this, that the way I understand it, when you stack a lot of people on top of each other, the only reason the water table goes down is because people are using it. But part of this business model is also, if you buy into one of these condos, one of these high-rise stacker condos, that you don't need a car. Oh, there's cars. There's cars parked in the bottom, but you go down there and you take a Visa card and you swipe it and you rent the car from the building, from the HOA manages the automobiles. It is an all-inclusive business model, and this is what they've set forth for the wonderful people of Phoenix. Don't you feel better? It is a mess, isn't it? Also here in Phoenix, I don't know if you saw this, Norco, California. Kind of a pretty place, kind of inland, Southern Cal. It was always a nice place. But the Norco now is being hit by people. There's attorneys that are driving around through town and looking for violations, building violations. And they're not subcontracted by the city. Okay, these people are doing this on their own volition. The attorneys go around and they look for building violations and they sue the people. And, of course, they take them to court, and it's over violations, this or that, blatant violations, or building codes or anything you can think of, and they know them all. They know what they're looking for. And when the city of Norco finds you guilty, then you have to pay the attorney's fees on the prosecuting side. So they're doing this as strict. They don't care. We had it happen here, and I don't know if you remember this in Phoenix, but we had it happen in this complex where they were just driving around and they counted the handicap parking spaces. Now, this wasn't the city, and this wasn't the ADA, which is the American Disabilities Act, but the attorneys sued all the building owners. Okay, had they have won on behalf of the ADA going, you don't have enough. Now, of course, the HOA here immediately put them out. But what happens is you're going to get a $10,000 fine per unit. There's 27 units here. Okay, now, obviously the attorney doesn't get the fine. The city does. The city gets the fine, or the state, or whoever you got to pay, but it's a government fine. But what the attorney who pointed it out gets, once you lose and get fined, you have to pay the attorney's fees and all their costs involved, which, are quite substantial.
You don't think there'd be any padding of
no government. Padding of that bill. So, $335 an hour.
If they even drove out here, if they even did that,
yep,
that each unit would have been charged separately for the drive.
Yeah,
right? They would have charged you the drive time 27 times.
You have to lose the case, obviously. So then they got people to settle. So, we think we can get you off. Why don't you just pay our attorney's fees? They didn't care. Had nothing to do with the ADA. So this is the world that we're living in. But there was a judge that threw this case out. It was right when I was in the process of selling the building, and they supposedly subpoenaed me. They didn't. They went to a rental house that we owned. Okay, that's it for business. Let's go, or that's it for local business. So you got something?
I want to talk about this water table thing.
Yeah, isn't that weird? So
the weight
of the building pushes the water table.
Now, if the water table goes lower, how is that better?
I have no idea.
That's the part I can't figure out.
This is nobody can figure it out.
You got to drill down even farther.
Yeah, you got to
get to the water.
Stick a straw in there. So, or maybe it makes a dip in the water table, so all the water comes, like a pool, like a doughboy pool. So maybe it pushes it down so it all pools, it all puddles underneath the building. That must be what it is.
Is that what it is?
I think we just solved the issue. So, I don't know. Somebody knows. Somebody listening to this program. So, Arizona, of course, the drought plan they put forth. What a ridiculous thing that is. The farmers in Imperial Valley and the very end of the line for for all the water drawing down is the Imperial Valley. If you know anything about this, wherever you drive out the Imperial Valley, this time of year, stunningly beautiful. Hay fields are starting to come in, and I mean, everything's growing in spring. As far as the eye can see, it's just beautiful. Beautiful. And that's the salad bowl of America. And, who's the first person that gets taken off the water? It's not the water parks in Las Vegas. Nope.
Not those guys.
Nope. The casinos. I mean, to me, it's amazing in the desert. And last time I went to Vegas, I don't know how many years, but it was hot. We were over there doing kids' softball tournament or something, and boiling hot, July or August. And I'm standing on the strip, and I'm looking. It's like 117 degrees, and every now and then I'm getting a cool breeze, from a nice spray of water from a 50-foot-high waterfall in front of a casino where Lake Mead has dropped so far you can't see it with binoculars anymore. And I'm like, yeah, they just don't get it. They don't get it. So now the United States today said it's going to eliminate in May all waivers granted to 8 economies, allowing them to buy Iranian oil without facing U.S. sanctions as it ratcheted up pressure to choke off all oil revenues of the Islamic Republic. The decision taken by Donald Trump has sent oil prices to their highest in 2019. What a year for oil. If this keeps going.
Well, oil's up almost to $1.91 a barrel, so let's call it $2 a barrel, $66. That's for NYMEX. Brent crude is like $76 or $77.
Yeah, this might have been a mistake. I mean, it was $35 at New Year's Day, as I recall. Don't quote me on that.
To fill it up.
But I got to be close. No, yeah. I think oil was down to $35
the barrel.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
And maybe it was
got to be right in there
somewhere around there. Maybe it may have been late 2018.
Yeah,
but it fell below 40.
Yeah,
and I remember I was talking about, hey, listen, they can't the shale oil, they can't make money at $40.
Well, you know what? I did an article.
Fixed it.
I remember doing a radio show where a senator had said that if oil hits 45, gets as high as $45 a barrel, it would bankrupt America. And you forget the 12 to 20, was it 12 to $28 or $12 to $20 barrel ice the price band? Remember that?
We start yelling at the Saudis.
Right, 12 to 20. So
oil's at $20. What are you doing over there? Turn the pump on.
Right, you're supposed to open the spigots. So, yeah, I guess that's moot. Anyway, the decision by the president, some people, some full-blown conservatives think the president doesn't want to run for office again over A, the bump stock ban that he signed, and B, gas taxes. He's all for new gas taxes. And now he's going after, he should go after the Iranian oil companies, but he should. I mean, I agree with that. But this is like a triple whammy. You're going to have $5 a gallon gas here real soon.
Well, I heard on Fox News this morning, so it's got to be true, that apparently it's only at $5 that things start to get ugly.
Yeah, at $5.
They're letting you know, because you got a pay raise that you can afford for.
Well, what's interesting is that at $3 a gallon gas, the union truck drivers in California blocked the 405. At $3 diesel, Joe and I did that radio that day. They had it all blocked, protesting not $5 diesel, but $3 diesel. Doesn't matter either. Money's all relative.
All the Uber and Lyft drivers are all just bleeding money now.
Yeah, money's relative if your relatives got it. Which mine do not have. But the front page of the Arizona Repulsive today, the Red for Ed deal. So
it's back?
Well,
they got their money?
They're not. It's not enough. Now, last week, for you people that are listening online, you Phoenix people, you can go to allamericangold.com and listen to the next 2 hours. I've been doing radio in Colorado, working up to this. Joe's been working on getting all the programming straightened out. But I talked about that there are tremendous wage pressures brewing in this country, just massive ones, just because we're getting ready to go through a new inflation cycle similar to what we went to in 1968. And I mean where the front page of the newspapers and Time magazine were people looking at ridiculous price of groceries and anything that they needed in life was just starting to skyrocket. And it wasn't until the unions and everything comes around full circle until the pay catches up that everything starts to calm down again. And then the government goes through decades with no cost of living allowances, no COLAs on the Social Security. But really, what it used to be was, this is hard to explain, that Wall Street is inflation now. Okay, it is. They did, they're talking about giving people money, the socialists that want to run for office, and they've done some test programs in the socialist towns where they just give people checks. Here's a check. We're just going to give you $1,000 a month. And they call it a living wage or a living adjustment. And, you'll see more and more of this as the election gains speed here, that everybody gets, let's say, $30,000 a year. So everybody gets a socialism. That's what you get. That's the number they decide on. Well, they did a number. They went and studied the last stimulus that's been handed out. Get this. 72% of the money eventually all ends up in China. That's an interesting thought. Now, in order to have inflation in this country, remember they used to tell you when you were in your economics class in college that inflation is from too much money chasing too few of products. And so that means everything was created in America. Now that's unlimited. There's so many factories, so many places, everything's globalism. There's literally no limit to supplies, so they can't create enough money to chase all the supplies. So what happens now is Wall Street, which goes up, and then, of course, as everything goes up, you get the wealth effect that Alan Greenspan used to talk about. And so you have more money and people hitting stock options, then they go and they buy stuff. So you go out and you buy stuff. We'll talk about, as we all know, most of the stuff comes from China. But even what doesn't, this is what triggers these inflation cycles. We're going to talk about inflation cycles on the Eric Cedarstrom Show with Joe Jaquint, All American Gold. We'll be back after these messages.
This is the Phyllis Schlafly Report, a daily broadcast launched by Phyllis Schlafly, who served as an articulate voice for traditional values for more than 70 years. Upholding that legacy and himself an author, national speaker, and attorney, here's the president of Phyllis Schlafly Eagles, Ed Martin.
On August 31st, 2016, just a few days before her death, Phyllis Schlafly released a radio commentary just like this one, which boldly declared that abortion is un-American. In that commentary, Phyllis said, "More Americans than ever oppose abortion. It's time for the voice of the people to be heard." I believe Phyllis is smiling now to know her prophetic words have been proven truer than even she realized. A report by the Institute for Pro-Life Advancement shows that a shocking 53% of millennials think abortion should be illegal in all or most circumstances. That figure is a dramatic rise from what we've seen even just a few years ago. By contrast, only 17% of millennials surveyed want abortion to be legal right up until birth. These figures not only prove that Phyllis was right, but also that Democrats are completely out of the mainstream of American political thought. When people like Hillary Clinton and Virginia Democrat Governor Ralph Northam say they want doctors to be able to kill children right up until birth or even afterward, they're putting themselves out of sync with 83% of Americans. No matter how much they falsely try to brand themselves as being pro-woman, the fact still remains that we, the people, do not want the death they are peddling. Let's not forget either that this survey was specifically of millennials. It looks like the so-called progressives are not doing so well with this rising generation. That would be no surprise to Phyllis Schlafly. She told me that two of the best things to ever happen to the pro-life movement were the invention of the ultrasound machine and the proliferation of undercover investigations into abortion providers. The ultrasound machine helps mothers see their children and know that they really are more than a clump of cells. The undercover investigations make it possible for people to counter the flowery language of abortionists and see the grotesque nature of their butchery. The truth is there, the science is there, and life is winning across America. Let's cut through the lies with facts and make sure the evil of abortion is expelled from our life-loving nation forever.
This has been the Phyllis Schlafly Report from Phyllis Schlafly Eagles. Despite the outrageous pro-abortion stance of many liberals, the vast majority of American people value human life. More than ever, pro-life voices need to stay vigilant and be heard. At phyllisschlafly.com, we're not backing down. Please, join us in the battle for life at phyllisschlafly.com. Thanks for listening, and join us again for the Phyllis Schlafly Report.
Yeah, the oil. Yeah, producer Jason's running the board in the mothership, doing a great job. A lot of people starting to get to work. Just a lot of people get radio programming out every day, and I appreciate all the help. This show's back in its infancy again, the Eric Cedarstrom Show. We're still working on everything that entails to get it all put together. But going in, we're talking about inflation, and it used to be the price of goods and wages made inflation go, and people, as things got more expensive, they needed more money, and they had to buy American. And everything was bought American because it was built American. But all that changed, and fiat floating money, and now it's stocks. Stock market takes off, and they get the wealth effect that Alan Greenspan used to talk about. By the way, for you locals, if you ever listen to Alan Greenspan, go look him up on YouTube. He sounds exactly like Ozzy Osbourne. You couldn't understand him in his height of his career. Now, I mean, it's all just a mystery. But so ultimately, it goes higher, and then everybody gets their bonuses and stock options, and the American public used to invest in it. I mean, 70% of the households had stocks that created this wealth effect in the day trading. And then they went out and bought everything from Chevy Suburbans and with all the Chinese parts in them, with Japanese cars and televisions and everything. And then that turned around and created inflation. So it was created by stocks, not by wage pressures, created by stocks, money, wealth creation. And then, of course, what happens is Wall Street falls. There's no more wealth creation. There's no more wealth effect, and we've all seen that. Now, it used to take from 1930s, from the Great Depression to the next equity collapse was almost 2 generations. Now you can't get, 8 years. You'll be lucky. Heck, it came every 4 years there for a while, these economic calamities and these black swans that hit the market. And then, of course, ultimately gold, which is the currency of last resort. And I don't think there's anyone that can argue that gold does its job better than just about any financial instrument that you can do if you invested in real estate, because the real estate markets here in Phoenix hit their exact bottom or their exact top the day the real estate market hit their exact bottom. How about that? August 2011, same month. So had you have, instead of buying, as you were buying real estate on the way up, had you start buying $300, $400, $500, $600, $700, $800, $9,000 gold, $1,100, $1,200, $1,300 on its way up to $1,900. Had you bought gold while your real estate was appreciating, when your real estate collapsed, the gold was there. And I'm still amazed, and it's all starting again. When you start to see Las Vegas markets take off like they're doing, and you've got all this building and this incredible influx of people coming again, where the whole country may tip over. And, they're all leaving the high-tax states and all that. But let's face it, the states where the regulations and the liberals have just run everything into the ground. They've been around a long time, and everybody comes here, and they bring it all with them. So, there's really nowhere to run, and ultimately it all just changes here, too. So, and on that note, you're looking at some news out today and talking about real estate. Existing home sales fall more than expected in March. U.S. home sales pointing to continued weakness in the housing market despite declining mortgage rates. Now, what happened was, if you people in Phoenix were wondering, and get you caught up to speed if you've missed my shows the last 7 or 8 weeks, that Powell, the Fed guy, just made an unbelievable mistake. Unbelievable. The president knew it. And it doesn't matter who you are, because they came out, we're going to raise interest rates, and then Wall Street, they're 3,000 point, and they tried to immediately blame it on Trump because he was adding tariffs to China. Nobody was watching the Federal Reserve. Mortgage rates started climbing. You can't do it. Okay, it just doesn't work. Everything's just too expensive. Okay, the entry-level price of a home, isn't $25,000 anymore, where you can have 10, 11, 12% interest rates. You can't do it. Can't happen. Can never happen again. The only way it can happen again is if you want to go to 10 or 11 or 12% mortgage rates, you have to go to 60-year mortgages. It's the only way it can happen. I mean, it's all based on monthly payments. So the real estate market just collapsed nationwide. They don't want to talk about it. But the end of last year, the numbers were alarming how fast it stopped. And I'm not talking about, $200,000-$300,000 entry-level homes is what they are now. I'm talking about, the move-up homes, the real estate market, the real market, the market where, people live in and move up and raise their families and get better houses. That market collapsed, and it's still struggling.
Well, the move-up home used to be, you went from $100,000 to $150,000 to $300,000.
Yeah.
Right now,
$350,000 was considered In the Arizona Republic, 15 years ago, they had luxury homes, $350,000 and up. And then it went to $500. Then it went to $750. I don't know. They don't have any ads anymore. But, Craigslist now is charging for ads. They're not free after they put the newspapers out of business. We knew that was coming. So now if you want the free ads, I know because I do classic cars, I know to run a car. I don't know what else. I'm sure a house too now. So maybe the ads will start coming back into the newspapers, but I don't know. So interesting how that
it's
business
just no
model.
one can afford this stuff.
I know.
I mean, a $500,000 home in Phoenix used to be, like you said, you're doing pretty good.
Oh yeah, no, you were talking about
and now it's like
it's nothing.
That's why all the they're everywhere. These apartments.
Yeah, if you don't live here,
Everywhere.
if you're listening here, you know what we're talking about. So, and they're still building. I mean, it's where everything went. The luxury home markets, the gated estates, that very rare unless you get up to Silverleaf or up in the real wealthy areas. So there's nothing in between. So you got both ends. But the NAR, National Association of Realtors, is that Lawrence Young guy still around?
Yeah, he's still there.
Larry the Liar?
Still going.
How about that? I like that guy. So real estate's a hard business. I'm a real estate license here, and when you really get into doing it, and you agents that are listening, you understand when you're working at this business, it's all inclusive. It's 24/7, man, and it's just got to get houses. You got clients looking, got to get houses, got to find houses, got to find listings. It's just nonstop. You can throw yourself into it, and that's the last people to know the real estate market was crashing in 2008 were the realtors. They didn't know because you just get too busy, and all of a sudden you look up and you're like, "Hey, I have a listing that didn't sell in 3 hours."
What happened?
Why is this listing still on the market the next day? It took a long time for it to set in. So I don't know. I don't think we're ever going to see that economic collapse to that calamity again in our life. Joe will see it. I don't think I will. I mean, this was set up by the bankers and George Bush, and all these guys got in, and they were able to come in and get bailed out, all the money that they needed. The companies came back stronger than ever, and they were able to acquire Americans' biggest assets for pennies on the dollar. And that's all that happened. Now everything's back like it never happened again. All the price levels, I think, have returned completely to where we were. We are right back where we were pre-crash.
And you think about it. We're right back where we were with sales off about, 60% from the peak, maybe 70, somewhere around there. From the peak, because at the peak, existing homes we sold like 1.5 million or something like that. Now they're like 500,000 homes being sold. And yet
That hasn't
prices are
returned.
back.
That hasn't returned, but prices are back.
Prices are back.
Why? Because of the apartments. So that's why. That's where that went. The renters are in instead of the buyers. Patriot Radio News Hour, the Eric Cedarstrom Show, will return after these messages. Yeah, how you doing? Eric Cedarstrom sitting here. It's a great day to be alive, broadcasting from Deer Valley, Arizona. Talking about the real estate markets, Joe Jaquint, CEO of Patriot Trading Group, and I sitting in here. And then if you want to go to allamericangold.com, click on radio, you can listen to me the next 2 hours, or you can go on your phone. You can go to 1360 AM, Johnstown, Colorado, and listen. You can play me. I'll be on the next 2 hours, so... I don't know if I'm that interesting, but some people like to listen, and let's face it, I got nothing else to do. So the National Association of Realtors today said existing home sales dropped 4.9% to a seasonally adjusted annual rate of 5.21 million units last month. February sale pace was revised down to 5.48 from a previously reported 5.5. The sharp drop in home sales reported by the NAR came ahead of the busy spring selling season. The housing market continues to buck the broader economy, which has shown signs of gaining momentum after stumbling at the turn of the year. So it's come way back from where it was. As mortgage rates popped up over 5%, and now they're down a full point from there. So, the bond market inverted, and they're like, oh, God, it's going to be inflationary. But ultimately what happened was the mortgage rates at the other end dropped, and well, that's good for business. So who knows what's going to happen here, but Wall Street can save it all. And they always say Wall Street. The pension funds, they're still underwater. But if it wasn't for the fact that the Dow, that they hadn't the computers on the Dow hadn't turned around and run this up, and they get the Dow up to 40,000. A new Ford truck will be $100,000. The entry level house is going to be up another, up at 350,000. Phoenix had to pay all the Phoenix workers $15 an hour. The banks all came out last week and said, try to match us. We're going to pay all our employees $15 an hour. Bernie Sanders trying to run on the crazy idea of paying people $15 an hour. He's so far behind. This is how fast the wage pressures have come up that he's got to change it to 30. Because 15 might as well have been 30 in 2016. So,
well, you think about it, right? The bank said 20 now, right?
They're at 20.
Yeah, 20.
I should have been a banker. So I'm telling you, I could have been something. So you know why nobody relays secrets in banks?
No.
Too many tellers. They're everywhere. You got them everywhere. Today in history in the Arizona Repulsive, in 1864, Congress authorized the use of the phrase, "In God We Trust," on U.S. coins.
That was 1864?
1864. So now every U.S. coin has had "In God We Trust" on it until not FDR, but Teddy. Teddy Roosevelt, the Rough Rider himself, was agnostic. And he tried to, implement the separation of church and state. So he made a $20 U.S. St. Gaudens in 07. They call it a no motto. He took "In God We Trust" off the coins. And, the people today, who knows what would happen today? You can't tell.
Nothing. I don't think anything would happen.
Think anyone would care?
No.
Maybe they should put it on Bitcoins. Might help. So, but they took it off. The country just, obviously just rallied, went crazy. And they stayed off till the first coin is about halfway through 08. And then they brought them back. I had Joe check, because I told him I was going to do this today. I had him check to see if he could get any no motto St. Gaudens, and usually he can get them. But there's the gold. They haven't made a single $20 gold piece, U.S. St. Gaudens, since they made one. They make two in 1933 or five, I think.
Well,
and two escaped. So
they thought they made two. They thought only two survived. One was in the Smithsonian. One was bought by a Saudi prince. And then miraculously, I forget what it was. What was it? Maybe 10 years ago,
somebody had one.
Israel Swift's family,
right, that got snuck out from the
who
U.S.
had been dead for decades, magically found this key in a drawer that had a safety deposit box, and inside of it were 9 more.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And then they sent them to the Treasury Department.
Yeah, I remember that. The Treasury took them from him.
Yeah, said, hey, he got these illegally because he obviously was in the gold business during the day and had paid somebody from the mint to smuggle them out to him, I guess.
Wow. Well, anyway, that's a good story. So, Joe, if you get some, run them. So maybe tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm working. I'm trying to track down some no mottos. We'll see what we get to. I may have an answer before the end of your 3 hours.
Okay, you can come back on later. So, but really, when you think about it, you think about how the gold industry obviously is expanded. You can't swing a dead cat without hitting a gold dealer anymore, and more go out of business every day than go in. And this company's been around a quarter century. And when I started it, people used to go, "What? What? You do what?" At parties, yeah, I think you should buy gold, and put it away, U.S. gold. Well, what is it? A certificate? That's what everybody thought. No. Well, you buy it and you hang on to it and you put it away. You may need it someday. And they all thought it was crazy. And, now they're like, oh, you're one of those guys. But, you know what? They've ruined the industry. So I may even talk about that, the modern issue certification of modern issue gold. In 1907, a U.S. gold piece was issued as money. And people, if you had $22 in 3 coins in your pocket, you had a $20 gold piece and 2 silver dollars. That was the coinage you carried. Okay, so the coins that survived, the numbers are great, depending on how you look at it. but nothing like what the modern issue is that they try to sell as collectibles. It's just they ruined the industry and destroyed it. So, and if you're having, questions about it, like Reagan coins, they took modern issue coins, put them in plastic, and had not Ronald Reagan, but Michael Reagan sign them. I assure you, unless he gets elected president and saves America from the next Civil War and is shot in the theater, okay, that collectible signature will have absolutely no value. They charge thousands of dollars for those. They're worth their gold value.
I didn't know who Michael Reagan was.
Oh, it's his son.
And so I had to look it up.
Well. It's, after a 3-day weekend, Mondays are hard to get rolling. Hey, final segment here on the first hour. This is the first of 3. Eric Cedarstrom Show. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it. We're working hard around here. Joe's doing a good job. All the people, we appreciate you. And without you, none of this would work. Looking at the markets, the Dow Jones down 33 points, 26,526. The S&P at 2905. The NASDAQ at just over 8,000. The oil up 2%. Yeah, no 3%, 2.8%, just under $66 a barrel. Gold up 0.5% at $12.76.70. Amazing. Just add zeros onto everything. That's really what's happened since I started in this business. It's just crazy. And let me see. Joe, anything else you want to add to that? Or you just...
Well, you know what? I do have an item. I don't have those No Motto Saints yet, but we do have rolls of silver $half. I had 2 bags that were made available to me this morning. Bought both of them.
Now, silver $half are 64 and older?
1964 and older. So the 1 year of the Kennedy, the 64, then the Franklins, and then before that, the Walkers. There's 20 in a roll. So you're going to get $10 face value or 20 $half. Works out to 7.15 ounces of silver. You're going to save $10 a roll, and that's a lot. $120 a roll. You're going to be paying less than $2 over spot for them at 120 roll. 800-951-0592. Call and place an order today. We've got, like I said, I got 2 bags. So
how many in a roll?
There's 20 in a roll.
20. Okay.
Yeah, so you get 100. I got 200 rolls of them. That's how many rolls I've got.
Nice.
I got 2 bags of them. Bought them both.
Well, this is good incremental material that will allow you to function in a hyperinflated or collapsed society. The economy, the great crash of 2008, and I still kept some of the headlines. I have them. I kept some of the newspapers, with George Bush and all those guys and all the bankers and everybody planning the stimulus and all the money and took all the insurance companies and financial and credit card companies, and they took them. They were all bankrupt. None of them could pay any of their obligations, turned them into banks, sent them to the Fed window, and fixed everything. And they all got filthy rich, and all of them, all the CEOs are still there. All of them. They all made their millions. They made so much money out of this last crash. Now they're cashing in the real estate. All the mutual funds that bought up the downtrodden, depressed real estate all over the country. I mean, they own it. They're starting to dump it. They made more money you can even imagine off of this. And ultimately, I don't think that if it happened again with Donald Trump as president, that he'd do it. And they know that. This is why they want him gone. They're scared to death. Trump won't bail him out. Trump would have looked at Chase Bank and said, sayonara, thanks a lot. He would have looked at Wells Fargo. These guys, he would have looked at State Farm Insurance. He would have looked at all of them, every household name that you could possibly think of, and say goodbye. Thanks for playing along. So that's why they're scared to death of this president. Because if we don't live in boom and bust cycles, which we talked about last week, if they are gone, and many people have said that there'll be no business influx, good and bad, there'll just be credit crises. And credit crises affect real estate markets. They affect auto sales. I mean, this is what's happening. Everything's driven on credit.